Hello and welcome to Angel Grove Park. This is a pretty straightforward beat-em-up level and even has one of my favorite beat-em-up cliches in it. Firstly, I'm sure you remembered in unpowered form the strategy is to hit the enemies from above or below instead of tackling them straight on. And here's that cliche already, we have motorcycles that come at us from the sides of the screen. The best way to knock the putties off their motorcycles is with a jump attack, and we have two kinds of jump attack. We have the regular long jump attack, and we have a shorter one that we can use by pressing down as we jump. That's the one we're going to use to knock them off their motorcycles. Since they can come at you from any plane, it's beneficial to stay in the center of the screen and then just move up or down when you see which plane they're on. They move pretty fast, but you can usually get there in time to use your jump attack. You may have noticed that there's a new type of putty hanging around, these guys with the brown vests, and they can do a quick jab, which can easily interrupt one of our combos, but it doesn't deal that much damage. It doesn't move them forward any either, so we just kind of have to walk into it, something we can avoid by moving up or down into them, as was already established. However, now that we're in our powered form, we don't have to worry about that as much. As before, I would still suggest... oh, hold on, a boss fight. So just as with, what was his name, Silverhorns, we can dodge this guy's attacks by pressing the dodge button and up or down at the same time. But he does attack faster than Silverhorns, so he has that going for him. If you're playing along at home, this might be the time you notice that you can dodge out of any part of your combo except the final hit. That just doesn't work. So if you want to dodge in mid-combo, go 1-2 dodge, don't go 1-2-3 dodge. Now we're back to fighting normal enemies, and since we're in our powered form we can afford to be a bit more reckless, though there will be a time when even these enemies are difficult for us. But since they're still mostly cannon fodder, this seemed like a good time to show off the throwing mechanic. You can throw enemies into each other, and they may not always hit each other when you think they should, but if you use a throw in a group of enemies, you can knock quite a few of them over at once, which is its main utility, I would say. Hey look, it's a DC counterpart to AC. DC is pretty much exactly like AC, he even has the same sword attack. I can't say for sure, but the three bosses in this stage seem to get progressively more difficult by progressively moving faster and attacking faster. They could all be identical and I could just be wrong, but if you want to play it safe, just do 2 hits and then dodge away, as I already said. Now there is a way to play it safer, because you know I can't play beat 'em up without abusing its mechanics in one way or another, but we'll get to that later. Not much to say about these motorcycle guys, same strategy as before applies, there's just more of them. But when you take 2 of them out at a time, it's not all that bad. The most challenging thing about the motorcycle enemies is when they spawn alongside normal enemies. You might figure it would be a good idea to throw the enemies into the motorcycle enemies, but you would be wrong about that. The hit detection does not favor this tactic. Nimrod has 2 attacks that are very similar to his brothers, and the same strategy works on him that did on his 2 comrades. So just do that. You've seen me mostly dodging up and down in the regular beat-em-up segments so far, and that's just my preference. You can totally dodge back or forward if you want, but dodging up and down seems to leave the least room for error. It is worth noting that if you dodge behind them just right, you can start really laying on the damage, but you'll see that shortly in a slightly different context. Welcome to another Megazord fight, this time against Nimrod, and Nimrod has a fatal flaw that I will try to exploit the best I can. For you see, none of Nimrod's attacks stop him from taking knockback. A lot of the bosses have at least one attack they can use that prevents them from being knocked back, not Nimrod. Nimrod's just screwed. Sometimes we goof up the rhythm by accidentally dodging too far to the right or left, but we can quickly fix that by getting back into position. It's not like Nimrod is even hard without this tactic, but This tactic is pretty hilarious, so how could I resist showing it off? And the best part is that what we're doing right here is technically a combo. So I can just put a combo counter on the screen whenever I feel like it and call myself a professional player. Now it's time for the part of the boss fight that's actually a little bit difficult. We're going to be using the same tactic for it, but the important thing is to pay attention to who's attacking when. And also in what direction they're attacking. Even though our dodge is pretty fast, it's still possible to accidentally dodge into one of their attacks. Thankfully, their attacks, even though they are fast, are generally just slow enough for us to slip out of the way. If there's one particular attack to watch out for, it's, is it DC or AC? I think it's AC. If there's one particular attack to watch out for, it's AC's Hair Whip. The Hair Whip has slightly more hit frames and slightly longer range than the other attacks, which makes it very easy to get hit by it if you dodge at the wrong time. So the only question left is, do I feel good about what I did here? And the answer is yes, absolutely. As I've said many times before, and as I will keep saying long into the future, breaking game design is just another way to appreciate it.